Усім доброго дня, усім вітання. І сьогодні ми маємо продовження нашої роботи в межах докторської школи по проєкту Sunrise. І сьогодні я маю честь надати слово для відкритої лекції на тему проблеми та виклики соціально орієнтованих досліджень у сфері охорони навколишнього середовища. Нашому багаторічному партнеру, людині, завдяки нестримній енергії якої реалізована величезна кількість різноманітних проєктів, в тому числі проєктів програми Erasmus, в частині з яких ми участь і продовжуємо приймати участь. Понад 2 десятиріччя ми співпрацюємо з цим вченим, з цим вмотивованим менеджером і дуже енергійним менеджером, талановитим вченим і прекрасним спікером.
Доброго всім ранку.
І сьогодні я маю честь надати слово Антону Шкарубі, представнику Естонського університету наук про життя, сеньору ресерчеру, кандидату географічних наук, і з радістю передаю слово вам, шановний Антон Дмитрович.
Thank you very much. As many of you know already, I cannot really speak Ukrainian, but I understand it really well. So, if you have any questions, any concerns, or want to do any kind of remark, please go ahead. For understanding this, but my Ukrainian is so bad you don't really want to hear it. Thank you very much for your really great introduction. I'm feeling really honored and humbled. Let's perhaps start because it's quite a big talk, pressed in time. As Professor Titenko told us, the title of the speech today is "The Problems and Challenges of Socially Oriented Research in the Field of Life Sciences." This talk mostly comes from the project experiences we had lately at our department. Most importantly, we had Horizon Project Better Life, where we specifically address socially engaging practices for life science researchers and try to what are the barriers and what are the barriers at the conceptual, methodological level and at the very practical level. And specifically, this talk has been developed for some school of this project we had in Prague 2 years ago. So that's me. I got my first degree in geography with focus on terrestrial hydrology. Then I continued and got my master's in international environmental sciences. My PhD was in geographical ecology, and I worked in all kinds of research teams. It was the Central Research Institute for Water Resources in Minsk, then Central European University in Budapest. I'm running environmental consultancy in The Hague in the Netherlands, but my main affiliation is Estonian University of Life Sciences in Tartu, where I'm staying already for almost 10 years, and which is my proper academic home for quite some time. Our current project include Horizon Land Europe. In this one, we're looking at dynamics of land use in Europe through the lenses of social factors, and also we validate our findings with remote sensing methodology and through the catalog of land use, which is now available through European Common Agricultural Policy. That's a very new tool, and we're very excited. Then we have a new project funded by the Estonian Research Board, which is called CS for Change, or in short, like Citizen Science for Change. Then we're continuing Jamane Project Trigger, that kind of co-sponsors this talk, and we have many Erasmus capacity building projects that include Erasmus capacity building project Domani that also involves our partners in Kharkiv. We have a new project Enter, which we implement in India and Malaysia, and it's a relatively new project Sunrays, which we also do in partnership with our in Kharkiv, Odessa, and Lviv, and that is the main sponsor of this specific talk. The keywords of my research, in case you're interested to get in touch and discuss new opportunity, would be green planning, biodiversity, land use governance, engaging science, nature-based solutions, ecosystem services and the services, as well as green planning. So the very start, which is useful to make, especially when you talk to students, and students always know everything better than we do, is actually to recap again what is us when we're talking about our objectives as environmental managers and environmental scientists. So the recap would be like this. We're part of nature and we need to exploit it to attain desired objectives, social, economic, cultural, and so on. We set targets and make plans in order to achieve these objectives. We want on a good way of achieving this objective, so we need to look back and measure this somehow. We want to understand whether we have achieved what we have planned and whether we can continue the same way. And when we're talking about the we, and in the context of this talk, it is probably the most important thing. This is really a huge diversity of actors. Each of them has its own actors, its own interests, its own preferences, its own ways to approach nature interaction. And you can find in many instances that this specific moment, this specific point is actually the most challenging part of any environmental management or environmental policy effort. Because we may have a lot of understanding and knowledge about what nature is and how nature interacts with some potential management events, but we are bumping in this diverse way, and then we find all of a sudden that some management interventions become obsolete, or probably they were not desired by people on that side of the table. So let's discuss all this a little bit in detail. One of reasons to approach this issue, everything what I discussed, understanding where we go with our management actions and interactions, measure what we achieved and how we achieve this, are environmental indicators. Here you can see the classical definition of those. They are concise information systems that provide quantitative and qualitative information about the condition and trajectory of a system and why certain trends occur in specified context. So this book comes from 2008, but it's a good oldie, and I still didn't see any better definition than this one. And they indeed carry some policy-related purposes, such as clarifying goals, describing trends, analyzing conditions, projecting developments, and also inventing, evaluating, and selecting alternatives, so they are concise and easy to interpret. And have a list of good indicators. Nothing new for you, just to make a recap. They should be simple, so they communicate and to trends. They should be measurable, so they should be capable to quantify exactly what we want to measure. They should be feasible, so the partners to whom we suggest the indicators should be able to use them, because we can suggest something really perfect in terms of how it shows the work of nature and with the nature, but if it's say too against kind of expertise which is not possessed for whom we develop these indicators, they're going to be absolutely useless. Then they should be flexible. So in case if for some reasons we cannot collect some data from the required data set, we can replace this file data. they should be dynamic. So they capture changes in stock and flows over time. When it comes to measuring something beyond the range that we expected to measure, that now in time of climate change happens really a lot. And really useful thing, and this is something what also we're going to discuss a little bit more if we have time, they should be user inspired. So they align with the goals of its users and co-produced by users when possible. And when speaking about this last point, I really had a very humbling and very inspiring experience this August. I was to Buenos Aires. We were discussing cooperation and did some small research with colleagues in Argentina. And we discussed problems of citizen science and how we can explore like socially engaging research methodology in the specific context. And then they told us of one of the projects they have. And that one was truly amazing. They had a task from the government of federal state, Buenos Aires, to make sure that people in the delta of Paraná River, this is, this is the largest, biggest river in South America, they have access to quality drinking water. And in this specific context, it's really a huge challenge because in delta, which is pretty big, in general, water quality is very low. Also, that area is rich in loess soils, and they give really, they really send a lot of very small particles to the water. So, like even originally the quality would be very low. Also, the area upstream is quite heavily industrialized, so they receive a lot of pollution. And what is more important in that specific context, there is a huge diversity of hydrological conditions in the delta, because hydrologically it is a very challenging and very dynamic system. And the way water quality distributes over the delta is very dynamic and really very diverse. And to make everything worse, the local population for whom these measures should be addressed is extremely poor. So they didn't really have any means to approach the quality of water resources in any meaningful way. So like what people from the university, it is University of San Martin, they tried to launch a knowledge co-production process with local people. Together with them, they co-designed specific, very simple water purification equipment, explaining them the physics and chemistry behind it in a very simple way. Together, they were choosing where actually to put it better, also understanding, giving them some basic understanding of local hydrology and local geology. Also, they were designing the sampling network, understanding what of water around and to understand the dynamics. Again, they were given some explanations how water dynamics, water quality dynamics in deltas work, and how it's related to their delta. They also apparently started to tell their own stories, that own observations were either confirming what told them and probably offering different perspective, and it was like very rich interaction. It was very difficult. It took a lot of time, but at the end of the day, they got a very functional system of local people who know how they get better water, what they do for this, how they learn about the quality of water around the delta, how they can maintain and control this monitoring network. And now it is a fully operational system that really helps people. So sorry for very long anecdote that explains why actually user-inspired indicators always work better. And I have really many stories of different kind, maybe a little bit less over for me personally. Still, it really is something that makes most work on much more sustainable and more effective. So let's move to the issue of sustainability indicators. This is the same we all facing from the very beginning, and the same kind of question we're asking ourselves when we hear the word sustainability. And the problem with the concept that it lacks consensus. I remember when I was a master student in Amsterdam, one of my professors didn't believe in sustainability as such, and he just overturned our group work because on the basis that sustainability is a crap. And well, what we could do, he was a professor, we were students. And nowadays, consensus is a bit more. Still, at times, you see some signs that probably not that much. A couple of years ago, I was not even a couple of 5 years ago, I was submitting a paper on potential sustainability of dachas. And also it involves co-authors from Kharkiv. And one of the reviewers told the same, that, you're talking here about sustainable land use, but sustainability is kind of crap thing. Why would you introduce this at all? But luckily, by this stage, at least the editor already extended his helping hand, and we could safely ignore this kind of comments. But still, you see that there is all guard that prefers not acknowledge the sustainability as operating term. So the consensus is still in search, and probably we need to do a little bit stronger effort in order to find it. So here we have quite a big diversity of definitions. So one of the first ones, probably one you offer to students, which is sustainable is something which is maximizing the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This one comes from World Commission on Environment and Development as group report, and it was extremely influential in its time. And I would say that it's clever and smart in its wording, because what was tasked this commission when it was set up? The task was exactly this. They needed to find some kind of common ground for almost 200 nations that will come all together to Rio de Janeiro for a World Summit on sustainability. And they need to see something that would unite all, that would make them understand why it's important and why seriously and why they have working on this. And this little trick of the ability of future generations to meet their own needs worked really perfectly well, because, well, we can be very egoistic about ourselves, but when it comes to our kids and our grandkids, then things change slightly. And what we do to make their life better, how we ensure that actually at least their life is not worse than ours, preferably better. And this apparently worked really well. This concept is very charming. It really conveys the very essence of sustainability thinking, why we do this, why we need this. But also this one is a little bit problematic. Because although it gives us a full understanding of the concept, it also doesn't give us any guidance about what actually is sustainable beyond something that does not compromise the ability of future generations. And to address this, many more definitions were coined, and one which probably does the job quite well, at least on the operational level, is this that comes from the 7th European Union Environment Action Programme. It says that in 2050, we live well within the planet's ecological limits. Our prosperity and healthy environment stems from innovative circular economy, where nothing is wasted and where natural resources are managed sustainably and biodiversity is protected, valued, and restored in a ways that enhances our society's resilience. This one is pretty amazing. It gives the most important pieces of the puzzle together, but again, it introduces quite a bit of uncertainty and ambiguity still in to explore. It says that in 2050 we will live well. within the planet's ecological limits. And this, although little ambiguous, at least it gives some guidance where to look. When it comes to planet's ecological limits, then potentially we know this part really well. Indeed, there are a lot of blank spots. We still have to get a lot of precision in many areas, but in principle, we can say that we have very solid and very robust understanding of what the planet's ecological boundaries are, how they interact with global water, air, atmospheric and systems and the biodiversity, what happens on interfaces. Still many questions to answer, but in principle, on the conceptual level and in the level of understanding the big picture, I think we are there. And there are many ways to approach indicating state of ecological limits. This the most straightforward. Like we can count organisms, species, habitats, and biomes. Say, like you see on the picture on the left, what the drop of water from a lake look at a microscope. And if we know the quantitative measure of phytoplankton, and if we know what the species are, we already have a very comprehensive picture of what is the status of this water body, and we can tell quite precisely where it is now and what is the trend for its further development. Then we can measure concentration in fluxes, and by multiplying concentrations by fluxes, we can estimate the stocks. And the picture on the right shows the eddy covariance tower. This one was taken pretty long time ago. I think it was in 2010. This one belongs to Siberian Federal University in Krasnoyarsk, and they have the university was just opened back then. Things they put such like the block that basically at point Russia all kind of research and understand course in because it was a belief that can be solved the global communities and sectors huge power. Russia can its position on climate change negotiations, but it turned out that actually does not work this way. This it it fixes it's not didn't any fun. So you know, there are some fun science. So the next is just based on known relationships and quantify dynamic behavior. And for quantifying dynamic behavior, we're using combinations of models, our observations and series. For instance, on this picture on the left, you can see what concentration of different isotopes of oxygen and hydrogen look in the oceanic core. Like if you find a piece of oceanic bottom sediments which is not disturbed, and if you take a column out of the bottom and have this amazing core with sediments, then you can measure isotopes, and you have a really good picture about what was the concentration of oxygen and what were the isotopes of oxygen back in a million years. And we know what is the relationship of this normally with water temperature, with concentration of other gases. And altogether, it gives us quite nice and comprehensive picture of what was the status of oceanic system back in time, and extrapolating this, what also the state of the global atmospheric system. Then also this one pretty complex method, but we have a lot of knowledge and expertise to deal with this. There are some things which are more traditional and straightforward, but still need represent and ask for some understanding of how nature works. This amazing piece of wood that you see on the right is taken from the lab for wooden anatomy of National University of Mongolia in Ulaanbaatar. And this is a piece of larch wood, and this tree was growing on outskirts of Ulaanbaatar. Well, back then it was a little bit away from Ulaanbaatar. Now it is out the outskirts of the city. And if you look at this tree, you see the tree rings. You know, like if you count them, we can get information about how old this tree is. And what is more important, we can give estimations of what specific tree ring corresponds to what specific year, and it dates back to 18th century. So like with this piece of wood, we have a really valuable and quite specific account of what was the situation in terms of climate on outskirts of Ulaanbaatar back in time. You know, if the tree ring is wider, it means that it was better tree growing condition for the larch. If it's narrower, then it was a bad year. And we have pretty good information and understanding what means a good year and bad year for a larch species. And you also can see here some dark areas on this piece of wood, and those dark areas, they correspond to forest fires. So we also know when forest fire happened on outskirts of Ulaanbaatar. And this specific piece of wood what was used also for historical research, because they overlapped this information they received from this wood with historical chronicles, and they tried to understand better how actually history went in this part of Mongolia back in time. So you see here we are quite strong, and we understand very well what we do. Problems really start when our research and our research interpretation becomes value-laden. For instance, let's speak about ecosystem services. I think all of you know this picture, and this what our students normally see. Say in this classification of ecosystem services, we talk about provisioning, regulating, and cultural services. Like nothing to discuss. I think maybe you know better about this one than I do. Also, more recently, we have the concept of ecosystem services coming up, and ecosystem services, their functions and properties of ecosystem which deliver discomfort to citizens, like as simple as this. Both of these concepts they're extremely problematic, because both ecosystem services and ecosystem services, once they appeared, they made researchers ask a lot of questions about why actually we need to quantify the nature in terms of money. I mean, it brings a very undesirable dimension, and how we perceive the nature, and what is our interplay with the nature, and sets the very discussion about the nature value in a wrong way. And it's not kind of incorrect way to understand how this concept works. And although ecosystem services prove themselves as a very valuable tool for communicating the value of nature to policy makers, to decision makers, to all kind of actors, if you do not use it properly, then you can run in really hard troubles. I remember I was once on a discussion of new climate change adaptation plan of the 13th district of Budapest, and one of participants of our project was giving the talk about the value of green areas in that part of Budapest. Sorry, it was not 13, it was the 8th district, but not a big difference. And She told to the audience that included all kind of stakeholder circles interested in different things about the ACE district. Okay, and you see this urban forest, if you convert its value to ecosystem services, if you do ecosystem service valuation, it gives us something like 2 million of euros of return in a year. And then one of the participants of this discussion, who was a developer, just stood up and told, but okay, if I put a shopping mall in place of this urban forest, then I would expect the money return of at least 10 million euros a year. So you see, sometimes with very good intentions, we cannot really say that this way to approach nature always work well, even if it used just as a communication tool to convince stakeholders that they have to preserve the nature. So we see it's very problematic, not only for this reason but only for many other reasons. Say like how we understand that this value can be attached to this specific kind of service. Why we identify this specific kind of services? Why it makes sense? I mean, in terms of ecology and so on and so forth. And if ecosystem service is problematic, I would say that ecosystem services is even more problematic a concept, because unlike the ecosystem services, it is just emerged, and it doesn't have like universal acclaim recognition as a well conceptualized and universally accepted tool. And also ecosystem discomfort as such is a very tricky concept. You can find very easily consensus in different circles of the society what is good about ecosystems, but then it's super difficult to find this kind of consensus when you are trying to discuss what is bad about the ecosystems. Because, well, if you're a kid, you like to get if you have a river in your city, you like to get dirty and happy, and your parents do not like you to get dirty in this river, right? If you are young and strong, you don't care about uneven pavement that can be distracted by tree roots. You don't care about the pollen and cotton coming from the poplars. But if you are getting older, then you have allergies. You afraid of falling on the ground, and then the picture of what is bad about the nature becomes quite different. And just to give you a little bit of taste of what the thinking within this concept may look like, I prepared this picture so that some ecosystem, the services can be related to ecosystem attributions and functions. And we are speaking about here about unacceptable ecosystems, such as bogs, about invasive species, about ecosystem floods, falling old trees and branches, seed and pollen causing stain and dirt, the algae bloom. Then we have those related and affecting human health and aesthetic issues. We're speaking again about the allergies, tick bites, attacks by wild animals in reality, and fear of wild animals that is probably as powerful as the actual danger when it comes to making decisions about biodiversity management. We have unmanaged green areas that create in us like some bad feeling and bad sensation about this particular piece of nature. We can have some unpleasant smells. Then this is my favorite. Those are the services which are related to restrictions and inhibitions of urban planning and development. And this one amazing. Actually, here we're speaking of things that we set up ourselves in order to protect nature, but then we find that these things become a major barrier to our economic development and our interests. Say if somewhere on the way of some construction activity, developers would find some red listed species on the building sites, then for them it's a huge problem, because then the whole construction should be halted and measures should be drawn to see how these red species can be protected. And say the protected area of any kind within the city limits is always a big headache for the municipality, because then they have this protected area where they cannot do practically anything. They have buffer around this protected area, and they also have to limit activities within this buffer really a lot. And They need to do all kind of public appraisals and additional environmental assessments for anything they do in this area, and so on and so forth. So can be really troubling. Then we can speak here about crimes connected with the parks. On one hand, you are asking why nature and what it has to do with ecosystems. But then again, if you have this amazing park, but you cannot walk through this, or you have some bad gossips about what's going on there, then you're again starting to be very negative about that piece of nature. That's what we humans do. Shade from vegetation, again, something extremely contextual, like when I'm showing this slide somewhere in India or in other countries where it is very sunny and warm, the people just ask me, how shade from vegetation can be a bad thing? And you don't have to explain this when talking about this in Estonia, because, we have really long and dark nights from autumn to spring, and for people, it's kind of very natural. Like we need to have as much sun as possible, and indeed, visual obstacles from vegetation that obstruct the visibility of roads. And the municipality also hates this. They can do something with trees like this one. You see, if tree looks what it looks like on this picture, it doesn't carry any ecosystem functions as such, or very limited ones. But because for municipality it is such a big issue to remove the tree, because then they will need to do all kind of compensatory replanting, they prefer to do something like this. And again, when we're speaking about visual obstacles for traffic from vegetation, it's super contextual, interestingly enough. Say, now we are working on a cross-Eurasian overview of ecosystem disservices to understand what they are in different parts of Eurasia. And it's always recognized in Europe and in some parts of Asia that visual obstacles from vegetation is an important thing. But in India, we never had such a comment from anyone, although in India we have actually 4 cities participating in this overview. And if you ever been to India, and if you ever saw how crazy drivers are on the roads in India, then you'll understand that actually obstacles from vegetation will be the least of their concerns. That's pretty amazing. So, so far, so good. To live well. This one is much trickier even than the previous one, because we may have extremely contrast and conflict ideas on what it is living well, even if we are the same person in different periods of our life. So this is my daughter Lisa when she was 3 years old, very happy age. And she's very happy here for 2 reasons. One reason is that she's got an ice cream. And the other reason that she neatly escaped a visit to dentist, because, well, I don't remember what exactly it was. And think about this, like in 30 years or 40 years from this age, if she would miss the dentist she would need to see, would be she any happier, even if she would get an ice cream? Probably not. And how we come to the concept of well-being. Daniela Meadows, the same Daniela Meadows that was leading the reports to the Club of Rome, gave this definition of well-being. She said that the concept of well-being encompasses individuals' capacity to achieve happiness, harmony, identity, fulfillment, self-respect, self-realization, community, transcendence, and enlightenment. And think about this. By her background, Daniela Meadows actually she was a soil scientist. But through her career trajectory, she had to think actually what make ecosystems sustainable, how to ensure the peaceful coexistence of nature and people over the long periods in the future. And she came up with this that would perfectly could be coming up from very hardcore social scientists with background in philosophy. So that gives us an understanding that probably this is really a real thing, and we also need to have some decent understanding of what well-being as a concept means, and what is the implications of well-being for us environmental policymakers and environmental managers. So yeah, I think this one we skip. We don't really have time. This one. So here we have different attempts to understand what is living well. We can use per capita income. Many say that it gives us a very solid understanding of what is good and what is bad about the quality of our life. Others say that GDP already provides a very solid measure about the quality of life. Some others say that Gini coefficient would be a better representation of how the society is good. Just in case, Gini coefficient shows the gap between the richest and between the poorest stratas of the society. And the higher percentage of wealth is concentrated in lower percentage of people means that Gini coefficient is high, and this gap between the poorest and the wealthiest is bigger, and this can be considered as indicator of social discrepancy and lower quality of life in society, and lower ability of the society to redistribute the wealth to benefit the most of the society. So then we have availability of public services, amenities, and sanitations, and this is really easy to calculate. Usually we have all the statistics. We can make it even socially distributed and to understand how this changes over the space. Then we have some more complicated indexes. One of those is Human Development Index, and on the bottom of this picture, you see how Human Development Index is developed. This one is calculated every year by the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and it puts together all kind of raw data, which is coming from three groups. One is long and healthy life, then knowledge, and decent standard of living. And they trying to all this together and to rank all the countries in the world in terms of how good they are in terms of human development. If you look at rankings, normally Northern Europe gets on the top, and countries in Central Africa get on the bottom. So, and we have some other attempts that may look a little bit more exotic, but also they worth attention. And this one, which is mentioned, which I wanted to mention, was Gross National Happiness Index. And this one is developed in Bhutan by the king of Bhutan. And this picture also was taken in Bhutan. And that one is a very bold attempt to try to understand how we can measure the actual happiness of the society without going to economic metrics. And I can understand actually why they did this attempt, because, Bhutan is not only the least developed country, but it was for a very long time one of the least developed countries. And all economic metrics looked extremely bad. But at the same time, if you would visit Bhutan, you would see that the society actually looks very decent. If you again look at economic metrics and compare Bhutan with India, India is doing much better. Absolutely, they have much higher economics indicators for whatever on average you want to get. But then if you move from India to Bhutan, you have understand that probably this country is much better to do, because you don't see beggars, you don't see all this dirt, you don't see all this extreme social discrepancy. You see people who are always in the clean dresses, who are busy with something, and you don't see this desperate, which is so common in India, and then you ask himself, like, what happened? Like, this country is not supposed to do as well as it does. And this is also was the king of Bhutan tried to understand. And he came up with this gross national happiness index. It's a pretty amazing thing. He was trying to put together things that probably were not worth putting together, say, what would be the potential economic prospect of some areas, and how keep nature healthy without overexploiting this, and how to give people enough income. And well, it's a little bit chaotic, and it needs some development, and it struggles, and it suffers from the fact that it was developed by the king. And because it was developed by the king that has almost divine status in Bhutan, nobody really can approach and to try to improve this indicator. It would sound almost blasphemous for people. And if you are really interested in this one, I had a master student from India, but who lived for 10 years in Bhutan. And he wrote a master thesis comparing gross happiness index in Bhutan with sustainability metrics in Estonia. How they are approached and why and how well they work. Really amazing piece of work. And if you're interested, I will be happy to share the link to his thesis. It's publicly available from the website of our university. So, and then we have the next level of approaching all the issues. We can try to integrate the leaf well and the ecological limits things. Again, you can find a lot of indicators of composite indicators of any kind. And this one is perhaps the best disseminated. This is environmental performance index, which is put together by the Yale Center for Environmental Law and Policy. And this is really enormous thing. They are looking at all kind of raw data from all over the world, and you can see in this picture actually how diverse and how comprehensive, I would say, the range of raw data and raw indicators they're looking at. Then they're trying to agglomerate them to at high level. So we have less groups such as air quality, sanitation, climate change, biodiversity and habitat. And then they do the agglomeration congregation again. And we're coming to two groups. One is ecosystem vitality and another one is ecosystem health. And although this effort looks to me as extremely impressive, and this is a lot of work, indeed it is super problematic, because it has inside a lot of things which are not exactly comparable. And to make it worse, it also has inside a lot of things that means different in different geographical contexts. For one countries, say, waste management can be a more important issue than fishing stock in other countries, and the other way around. And when you are trying to put so many different things together, indeed, you're bumping in all kind of skepticism from people who are looking at it, especially if people have some background in environmental science. Nevertheless, it's still better effort than anything else that we do. And using this kind of indicators, we can receive ranking of all countries all over the world and get an idea of roughly what would be the relative position of different countries in the planet in terms of where they are placed in terms of interaction with society and the nature. Then what also I wanted to mention, is coming back to the question of the participatory process. I introduced to you my experience I had in Argentina, and this is what, again, Daniela Meadows told about this in her amazing book, which is called Indicators and Information Systems for Sustainable Development. This is indeed a much less popular edition than her Limits to Growth. But still, if you manage to find a preprint of this book, it is absolutely worth reading. So, among other interesting things, she told this. The indicators a society chooses to report to itself about itself are surprisingly powerful. They reflect collective values and inform collective decisions. A nation that keeps a watchful eye on its salmon runs or the safety of its streets makes different choices than does a nation that is only paying attention to its GNP. The idea of citizens choosing their own indicators is something new under the sun and something intensely democratic. So with this, we again basically coming back to our foundation. We're asking ourselves basically the same questions I was starting this talk with, and if you're interested in how participatory process for establishing sustainability indicators may look like, my first recommendation will be this paper. It's called Bellagio Stamp, Principles for Sustainability Assessment and Measurements. It was led by my former boss from Central European University, Laszlo Pinter. And equally formidable co-authors. And the big value of this paper that they are very short on theory. They immediately jump to very practical case on how they try to do this work for communities on the Lake of Balaton in Hungary. And they very honest about their successes, about their failures, and how they were addressing them. So if you're interested in the topic, probably it would be one of the very prime readings I would suggest. And with this, I want to finish. I believe I'm running out of my time, and we still have some time for questions.
Дуже дякуємо. Я думаю, що з спілкування, модерування під час QA-сесії нам допоможе трошки Надія Іванівна. Будь ласка.
Of course. Thank you very much, Anton Dmitrich. You know, judging by the topic you just mentioned, it is like, you know, embracing the immensity. So many topics and so many subjects to discuss. Thank you for taking your time, yes, and we are very pleased to see you now. So, dear colleagues, perhaps there are some questions to Mr. Shkaruba. Of course there are, I'm sure. So, who would like to question, feel free. Yes, Mr. Sanько, you're welcome.
Ну, по-перше, хотілося б дуже подякувати. Я сьогодні був свідком не те, що незвичного, а нетрадиційної подачі, співвідношення між тими 17 індикаторами, які явно перекошені у бік соціальних, тобто там лише 3 або 4 стосуються суто екологічних, а тут пан Антон зробив їхній аналіз цих соціальних, і оце зображення, така складна діаграма на 16-му слайді, вона, власне, все поставила по своїх місцях. Я хочу спитати ось про що. Ну, зважаючи на те, що у системі індикаторів сталого розвитку віддається свідома перевага саме ось цим соціальним індикаторам, як вони співвідносяться? Де тут сталість? Оце мене цікавить. Оці індикатори сталого розвитку, які, скажімо так, віддають перевагу соціальним факторам, як вони можуть впливати на оце sustainable, тобто підтримуваний розвиток? Питання зрозуміло?
That's very clear. Well, my answer would be a little bit cynical, like everyone is wrong here. We cannot, the very first thing we need to understand, we cannot believe in the models we come up with in order to describe how the system works, because it is still a model. And any indicators, they just describing what's going on, and they are not what's going on. And It means technically that whatever we come up with as indicators, it is just our idea. And when it comes to sustainable development, I never saw any kind of indicating system that would be fully convincing. It always would pose a lot of questions. And when we develop any kind of indicating system, sometimes we're not even having the purpose to make it represent sustainability as faithfully as possible. Mostly, this system would have a very clear user-oriented purpose. First of all, we're asking ourselves why we need these indicators, and then we develop them. And depending on the purpose of that we have, our indicating systems can be very different, and they can have emphasis either on ecosystem indicating indicators or on social ones. And I think it has nothing to do with our representation of the idea of sustainability itself. It mostly represents why we need this indicator and what exactly kind of practical activity needs to be supported by this indicating system. I don't know if it's really an answer to a question, but I try to be as kind of honest as possible.
Що, Сергій Григорович, зрозуміли ви?
Дякую, ну більш-менш. І ще питання на
більш-менш.
п'ятому
Коротше,
слайді.
да.
Якщо можна, 5-й слайд відкрити. Слайд number 5.
Takes time. Oof. Something does not work. Just wait a bit.
Instead of slide, we see our face.
Я хотів
Yeah,
спитати,
I know. Can you see it
напевно,
now?
технічна помилка. От там, дивіться. Ні, це не 5-й. Зараз.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Number 5.
5.
Yes.
So,
2915. Можливо, це помилка. Це 2015 найскоріше.
Так, це помилка.
Дякую.
Дякую.
yeah, thank you. So, any more questions? You're welcome. Nastya, perhaps you want to... Dmitro, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Anton, thank you very much for such an insightful presentation. We are currently studying an aspect of climate change known as pathogenicity. In your professional opinion, could the results related to the duration of acute pathogenicity be considered part of ecosystem disservices?
Absolutely. As long as it is related to ecosystem dynamics, then it is. And but again, that depends on what kind of pathogens you're looking at. And but in many cases, it is.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
Both directly or indirectly. Like we can look at this as a part of biodiversity, if it is, or we can look at the underlying conditions, like say if we have a lot of exposure to pollen, that makes the human body more vulnerable also to microbes and to viruses, and even you see. And that's just one example, and there can be many more. And the system is really tricky, messy, but yeah, indeed, it can be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions, perhaps? Yeah. No? You see, Anton Dmitrich, you explained so nicely everything that people understood practically everything.
You're very kind.
That was great to see, and to see you in the screen at least. Yes, hopefully in person too. And thank you very much for taking your time. You know, the most precious thing in our life is our time.
Okay, just in case you still have some questions and you want to ask them or to discuss any of questions you have in more detail, I'm available. We can always set up a meeting. You know, we have the Ukrainian doctoral school, and that's my obligation to provide to be available as a part of the school. So I'm super open to your inquiries. And indeed, also I'm hoping to see some of colleagues in our future meetings and also in Tartu Summer School.
Thank you. We really appreciate your efforts and time. Thank you so much.